By the end of this video, you'll discover why trying to be impressive may be quietly burning you out as a highly sensitive person, and how redefining safety can help you finally rest without guilt. In this video, you'll discover why many HSPs unconsciously equate being capable with being safe, and the cost of that conditioning. How the pressure to hold it all together at work and at home turns into invisible labor and chronic tension, and why rest isn't a reward, and how to create a life that doesn't make you earn it. So why do many HSPs equate being capable with being safe? For many highly sensitive people, capability didn't start as ambition. It started as regulation. Early on, very often early anyway, HSPs tend to learn something like this. When I'm competent, or helpful, or perceptive, or easy to deal with, then things stay calmer. Because of heightened sensitivity as HSPs, we tend to notice emotional shifts sooner and feel disruption more intensely and are affected by instability more deeply. So, having had that capability our whole lives, our nervous systems tended to draw a kind of conclusion that safety comes from reducing friction. And one reliable way to reduce friction was to become capable, become self-sufficient, emotionally attuned, low maintenance, and on top of things. This isn't necessarily a conscious belief. It's more like a somatic association that capability equals fewer shocks to the system. And we just learned, okay, we can avoid shocks by being capable. So how does being impressive sneak in? Over time, capability often morphs into impressiveness, if you want to use that word. Not flashy impressiveness. That's rarely the goal of most HSPs, but impressive in the sense of being the one who can handle more, or being the one who doesn't fall apart, or being the one others rely on, or being the one who anticipates problems before they happen. For HSPs, this isn't about ego. This is about predictability. We're talking about safety here. If I'm impressive enough, I won't be questioned. I won't be a burden. I won't be destabilized. I won't be abandoned or overwhelmed. So impressiveness becomes a safety strategy. But there's a hidden cost to this kind of conditioning. First of all, safety moves from the environment into the body. When safety depends on capability, the body becomes the container for that. Instead of external things like agreements, or shared responsibility, or clear limits, or some kind of external structure, the HSP's nervous system holds the load. And this is why burnout shows up as back tension, jaw or neck holding, hypervigilance, fatigue that doesn't rest, doesn't get any better with rest, and never feeling fully off duty. So it's the body that keeps working. Even when the calendar says you're done, it's still going because it doesn't feel like the external structures are reliable enough to hold the responsibility. And so we keep holding it and the body keeps holding it. Another thing is that rest starts to feel dangerous. And so if you're thinking that capability equals safety, then rest can feel like letting something drop, or inviting chaos, or becoming vulnerable, or risking disappointment. So even when HSPs want rest, their system resists it. Rest isn't neutral. It starts to feel like exposure. And this is why weekends don't end up refreshing, or vacations take days to land, or slowing down creates anxiety instead of relief. Another factor is that self-worth can quietly get entangled with function. This is kind of on an identity level. Over time, HSPs may start to feel valued for what they carry, wanted for what they provide, and respected for their steadiness, which makes it hard to answer, who am I, when I'm not managing something. This can create a subtle, almost feeling of grief, like I'm exhausted, but I don't know who I'd be without this role. Another factor is the system never gets the signal that it's safe now. So the system learned, I survive by being capable, but it was never taught I'm safe because the container can hold things without me. So even when life is safer now, with better boundaries or more choice or more resources or more autonomy, the body doesn't automatically update and it keeps running the old program. So redefining safety is the way out here. Burnout doesn't resolve when HSPs try harder or when they optimize better or when they become more disciplined. We're already super disciplined. Burnout doesn't go away when you manage time more tightly. It resolves when safety is relocated from I'm safe because I'm capable to I'm safe because the structure or the agreements or the support around me can hold this. This is a major shift from I'm safe because I'm capable, I'm the one holding, to I'm safe because some structure or some support around me is holding this. This is a developmental shift, not a mindset shift. And it's why containers are so important, why clean edges matter, and why shared responsibility is important, and why being unimpressive sometimes also is super important. So how does holding it all together become a kind of invisible labor and chronic tension? For many HSPs, the pressure to hold it all together isn't about specific tasks. It's about continuous background effort. This is the invisible labor that rarely gets named because it doesn't look like work, but it feels like work in the body. What invisible labor looks like for HSPs is tracking how everyone is doing emotionally, anticipating problems before they're voiced, soothing and smoothing interactions so that things don't escalate, holding the standard when systems are unclear, compensating for disorganization and conflict or poor leadership. And at home, it can often look like carrying the emotional climate of the household, or being the regulator when others are dysregulated. It can look like remembering, planning, anticipating needs, preventing discomfort before it happens, and staying on so others don't fall apart. None of this shows up on your job description, and none of it gets clocked as effort, but the nervous system experiences it as constant responsibility. And then this turns into chronic tension because invisible labor has no clear edges. There's no start time, there's no end time, there's no done, there's no moment when the body gets to signal, gets the idea that you can stand down now, you can stand down. So the body stays subtly braced. And that's why the tension can end up living in the back and the shoulders. These are load-bearing areas, show up in the jaw and the neck, and have containment, and can linger when you're resting. The system doesn't know when the job is over because the job was never formally named and defined. Often underneath the pressure to hold it all together is a belief like this: if I don't carry this, it will fall to someone less capable, and that will cost me. So HSPs quietly become the emotional shock absorber, the stabilizer, the one who notices first and fixes early. Not because they want to, but because their system learned that stability depends on them. Why this is exhausting in both work and home. This pattern follows HSPs everywhere because it isn't situational, it's relational. You can change jobs, you can take time off, you can even reduce responsibilities, strangely enough. But if the role of holder of everything doesn't shift, the tension just relocates. That's why burnout often feels confusing. Hey, my workload is lighter, so why am I still so tired? Because the invisible job is still running. So let's think about why rest is sometimes thought of as a reward and why that actually doesn't make sense for HSPs. For many HSPs, rest is conditional. Not consciously maybe, but structurally at least. Rest comes after everything is handled, after others are okay, after you've proven you're responsible, after the system feels stable, after you've been good enough. Which means rest isn't actually rest. It's more like a temporary ceasefire, and the nervous system knows this. So even when you stop, part of you stays alert. Don't relax too much. Something still depends on you. And so as HSPs, we tend to learn that we need to earn rest. Many HSPs grew up in environments where attunement was required, again, for safety. Stability was maybe fragile. Needs had to be anticipated. And competence, again, brought safety. So rest became something you were allowed after holding things together, after being useful, after not being a burden, after staying ahead of problems. Over time, the body learns that rest comes after performance, which quietly turns rest into a reward, not a right. So the cost of earned rest is that it's never quite enough. It only gets fit in around the edges. It doesn't fully land, or there's guilt or vigilance remaining when you're resting. And of course, tension returns quickly. This is why weekends may not restore you, or vacations don't reset you, or slowing down feels oddly unsafe. Your system isn't resisting rest, it's waiting for permission that never comes. So how do you create a life that doesn't make you earn rest? This isn't about convincing yourself to deserve rest. If you do that, it's just keeping the same system intact. Oh, I just need to do something more and then I'll be able to deserve it. That's the old paradigm. This is about changing the structure so that rest is built in, not negotiated, that is a part of the system. Rest comes from containment, not willpower. HSPs don't rest because they decide to, they rest when something else is clearly holding the weight. That's why vague boundaries don't tend to work, and I'll try to rest more doesn't work, and discipline-based rest tends to backfire. The nervous system relaxes when it senses, when it perceives that there's a clear end to something, that there's shared responsibility, and that I don't have to hold it all, that there's a reliable rhythm, and I can count on it, and that external containers are there, and they don't depend on you holding them or remembering things. Rest happens because the system is held, not because you force yourself to stop. And this can't be faked. You have to have a good system. You have to create a system with this in mind so that it does create the rest built in for you, and that may take some planning. Rest is the absence of holding, not the absence of activity. For HSP, rest doesn't mean doing nothing. It means not tracking, not anticipating, not buffering, not carrying emotional load. You can be active and still resting, ironically. And you can be resting and still not really be resting. So these are two independent things. Absence of holding is the real rest, not just the absence of activity. Another thing is that maturity brings with it a way of letting life hold more. This is a kind of developmental shift. Early on, safety comes from being capable, and later, safety comes from trusting structure and rhythm and shared reality. This is a quiet maturation, letting agreements do their job, letting systems wobble a bit without stepping in, letting others carry their part, and letting life hold what never belonged to your body. This is not collapse. This is not disengagement, but this is where relief can actually begin to be found. In this video, we looked at why many HSPs unconsciously equate being capable with being safe and the cost of that conditioning. We looked at how the pressure to hold it all together at work and at home turns into invisible labor and chronic tension. And we looked at why rest isn't a reward and how to create a life that doesn't make you earn it. So the feeling I'm left with today is that rest is the starting point, not the end point of work. When it's time to rest, work must simply wait. Otherwise, you get only very short-term results. But when you make rest the starting point, the basis of action, then activity becomes balanced and overwhelm and stress is reduced. Tired of feeling overwhelmed by everything all at once? Take the HSP stress test at trueinnerfreedom.com. You'll also find a link in the show notes. The test will reveal your unique sensitivity profile, including how your nervous system naturally responds to stimulation, emotions, social energy, and more. You'll also gain a clearer picture of how stress might be amplifying that sensitivity. Take the HSP stress test now. It's a powerful first step on your journey to true inner freedom.